من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. يسألونك عن الشهر الحرام قتال فيه، قل قتال فيه كبير وصد عن سبيل الله وكفر به والمسجد الحرام وإخراج أهله منه أكبر عند الله والفتنة أكبر من القتل ولا يزالون يقاتلونكم حتى يردوكم عن دينكم إن استطاعوا ومن يرتدد منكم عن دينه فيمت وهو كافر فأولئك حبطت أعمالهم في الدنيا والآخرة وأولئك أصحاب النار هم فيها خالدون. إن الذين آمنوا والذين هاجروا وجاهدوا في سبيل الله أولئك يرجون رحمة الله والله غفور رحيم. يسألونك عن الخمر والميسر قل فيهما إثم كبير ومنافع للناس وإثمهما أكبر من نفعهما ويسألونك ماذا ينفقون قل العفو كذلك يبين الله لكم الآيات لعلكم تتفكرون في الدنيا والآخرة ويسألونك عن اليتامى قل إصلاح لهم خير وإن تخالطوهم فإخوانكم والله يعلم المفسد من المصلح ولو شاء الله لأعنتكم إن الله عزيز حكيم ولا تنكحوا المشركات حتى يؤمن ولا أمة مؤمنة خير من مشركة ولو أعجبتكم ولا تنكحوا المشركين حتى يؤمنوا ولعبد مؤمن خير من مشرك ولو أعجبكم أولئك يدعون إلى النار والله يدعو إلى الجنة والمغفرة بإذنه ويبين آياته للناس لعلهم يتذكرون صدق الله مولانا العظيم وبلغ رسوله النبي الكريم صلى الله عليه وآله وسلم.
Jazakallah, brother Faiz, mashallah, very good recitation. Allah give you jazak for that. So the ruku that we are inshallah starting, this is 217 ayat and onward, and in which like lot of ayats that begin with yes alunaka, that means those who ask you, those people who are asking Nabi Karim Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam. So yes alunaka means they ask you about that. And now here the topic is they ask you about, you know, fighting in the haram months. So Nabi Karim Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, through his infinite wisdom, instead of rejecting anything, he collected and, you know, reformed the things that were persistent in Arabia at that time, because there were some remnants of Deen Ibrahimi, the Deen of Ibrahim al-Islam, that was actually practiced. He built the Kaaba, he established the Deen, but later on, you know, polytheism, idol worshipping crept into that Deen, and the original Deen was lost. But there were some remnants of the teachings of Ibrahim al-Islam, and people were ambiguous, like, you know, what are the two teachings and what has been crept in by, you know, Bidat and, you know, Shirk. So now they are in the ancient Arabia, pre-Islamic Arabia, 4 months were considered haram for fighting, and that was Zil Qada, Zil Hajjah, Muharram. There were 3 consistent months, and there was Rajab, which was in middle of the month, middle of the year rather. So they are asking, and Nabi Karim Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, that how is it like that? So Islam, like, you know, is keeping the sacredness of those holy months. So that's what Allah Subhanahu wa Taala is commanding Muslims, that, you know, fighting in those 4 months, that is Zil Qada. The literal meaning of Zil Qada means a month of sitting. Just like, you know, when we sit in namaz, we call it qaida. Qaida means to sit down. So like instead of fighting, people would sit down. So all over the Arabian Peninsula, people will make their journey and make it to so they had to start their journey quite early, not on the Zil Hajj, but started from Zil Qada. So people from far off lands like Yemen and, you know, other areas, in the northern areas, they have to make the journey. It will be a long journey, and people had to start from Zil Qada, Zil Hajjah, the Hajj was performed, and then they were the returning tribes. The Muharram was considered haram, the first month of the new year, so people can return safely. And after this consistent 3 months, what was considered a Rajab, which was in the middle month of that. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is saying that it is haram to fight in those holy months. But Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is also uh, pointing out, like, the hypocrisy of Quraysh when it comes to the holy months. What they did, they were saying that, they are being the custodian of Kaaba. And the grandfather of Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, Abdul Muttalib, he was actually the custodian of Kaaba. And in that time, it was considered, and all the rites were absorbed, the holiness and the sacredness of Kaaba and the holy months were absorbed. But Quraysh, after Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam declared his prophethood, they did not held those months in great esteem, especially toward what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is pointing out. What they did, they made the life miserable for and very hard for Muslims and also for Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam. So that's why they had to migrate from Makkah to Medina. So, okay, the fighting in those holy months is haram, but what you have done is even worse than fighting in that. And what they did, they confiscated all the properties of all the Muslims who, out of the prosecution, they left Makkah. And another thing is, they did not, honor the sacredness of the month. And such case was in the Sulh Hudaybiyah. In Sulh Hudaybiyah, that took in the 6th year of Hijrat. In 6th year of Hijrat, Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam wanted to perform Hajj, and the way he did it, that he asked Sahaba Ikram that he had a vision that they are performing Hajj. So in the 6th year of Hijrah, he told Sahaba Ikram, and the 1400 Sahaba Ikram assembles, and they started their journey toward Makkah. And that was a sacred month. What month was that? That was Zil Qada. Zil Qada was a sacred month, and Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam said that it is a sacred month, so they will not fight us. That was a tradition that was being carried on from the Ibrahim alayhi salam. So they will not fight. But as Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam approached Makkah, Quraysh, instead of honoring that sacred month, what they did, they assembled an army of themselves and their ally, and they assembled a cavalry of 200 mounted soldiers, and they gave the command to Khalid bin Walid and Akrama bin Abu Jahl. They say that, when Muslims approach, go and ambush them and, finish them off. Khalid bin Walid, it was a sacred month of Zil Qada, but they did not honor that. Instead of, honoring the month, they tried to stop Muslims, and rather they tried to harm Muslims. And as I had discussed it in the previous lectures, when Khalid bin Walid, when he approached, like Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, when he approached Makkah, he saw a cloud of dust, and what he did, he changed his route a little bit, and camped in a place called Hudaybiyah. And when the time of namaz came, Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam started his namaz, and Khalid bin Walid, not only he did not honor the sacred month of Zil Qada, but he tried to ambush. But in the 5th year, just like a year earlier, the command of Salatul Khawf had come. So Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam had performed Salatul Khawf, in which one Jamaat stood guard with their arms, and another Jamaat, the half of the Jamaat, they performed namaz, and then they took their turns. And this is being mentioned, and this is how Sulh Hudaybiyah was established. Khalid bin Walid, when he saw Muslim performing Salatul Khawf, he said that first ray of Iman emerged in my heart then, because only a prophet of Allah would know what would be my intentions, because he had not tell his intention to anybody but his close commanders, that when the Muslims will be performing their ibadat or namaz, that's when I will ambush and finish them off, because they will not be able to fight back. But this is something. And right after the Sulh Hudaybiyah, when the Treaty of Hudaybiyah was signed, he accepted Islam. But you know what happened in the later years? The conquest of Makkah took place because that's what happened, that according to the Sulh Hudaybiyah, those it was for the, I think, 10 year of truce between Muslims and Quraysh. And according to the clause, all the independent tribes, they couldn't form an alliance with either Muslims or with Quraysh. So the tribe of Banu Qaza'a that had formed the alliance with Muslims, and a tribe of Banu Bakr, they had formed the alliance with Quraysh. So what happened, that what led to conquest of Makkah, that when the people of Banu Qaza'a, they went to Makkah, they both Banu Qaza'a and Banu Bakr, they used to live in the vicinity of Makkah. And those people from Banu Qaza'a, they realizing that it is a truce. So they came and in the Makkah, and Banu Bakr, they ambushed them, and Quraysh participated in that ambush. So the combined forces of Banu Bakr and Banu Quraysh, they attacked the people of Banu Qaza'a. So people of Banu Qaza'a, what they tried to do, they ran toward the Haram Sharif, and they tried to take a refuge. And one of the few people from Banu Qaza'a, what they did, they went and hid behind the cover of Kaaba. So they thought that they will respect the Kaaba, the cover of Kaaba. But the people, some of them, they held off. They said, no, we are not going to kill a soul in somebody who's hiding behind the cover of Kaaba. But the chief of Banu Bakr, he said that, to his friends, that, such an opportunity will never arise. Let's go and kill them off. So they killed a lot of people from Banu Qaza'a. So as they were being slaughtered, they shouted Nabi Karim Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam right from the vicinity of Haram Sharif. And Nabi Karim Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam at that time was in Medina, and he was performing wuzu. And after performing wuzu, he said that, labbaik means I'm coming. And that's like he's in Medina, but Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala through Wahi informed him what was happening in that. So this is being mentioned that, what Quraysh did, that, that of course, those sacred months are sacred months. But, if you don't hold or respect the respect of that just by confiscating the properties of Muslims who migrated from Mecca to Medina and fighting in the holy vicinity of, Haram jurisdiction. So that's what is being mentioned. And now this topic goes further, that, these kuffar or the Quraysh, they want to turn you back to the old, because they were not happy that Muslims have left the, left their old ancestral religion of polytheism, idol worshipping, and got the guidance. The strange thing about, Makki life and Madani life was that they held the bloodline of Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam in a very high lineage. They respected Abdul Muttalib. They respected Abdul Muttalib, and they would remember when Abroha with his elephant cavalry attacked Makkah. It was Abdul Muttalib who had saved them. So they held the lineage of Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam at very high esteem. So was the great grandfather of Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam. His real name was Umro, but his title was Hashim. Hashim means a person who crumbs bread. So the story of the title is that great grandfather Umro. There was a severe drought in Makkah one time, and Hazrat Umro, the great grandfather of Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, he went to Syria and brought there the dried bread, and then he made a stew out of that and fed it to all the people of Makkah. So Umro, that was the real name of great grandfather of Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam. The people of Makkah gave him the title of Hashim. That means a person who makes bread, because referring to him, because he in the time of drought had brought the bread, made a stew out of that, and fed it to the hungry people of Makkah. But although they held Nabi Muhammad Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam lineage in a very high esteem, but the teachings Nabi Muhammad Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam brought, that concept of hereafter, concept of monotheism, and concept of like not condemning the image worshipping, condemning the alcohol use and all that. So those teachings were not familiar with Quraysh. On the other hand, when Nabi Muhammad Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam immigrated to Medina, people of Medina, they were familiar. Even the pagan there, they were familiar with the teachings of like monotheism. They knew what monotheism was because of Jewish influence, and they were anxiously waiting a prophet. They knew the prophet was coming. They knew that the concept of hereafter. They have the concept, but what they did, just like Quraysh, they accepted the lineage of Nabi Muhammad Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, but they rejected the teachings of Nabi Muhammad Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, because they say, how come a person dies and become a bone, and even the bones are fragmented? How can Allah can resurrect a person like that? So they totally rejected that concept of resurrection. But on the other hand, Jews, what they did, they knew that prophet was coming, but they had an arrogance that all the prophets could only come from the Bani Israel. So they had never had a concept that from the family of Banu Ismail a prophet can come. So these are the some of the things I mentioned. But Quraysh, they try to convert those things, and Allah Subhanahu wa Taala saying that whoever converts back to the old religion, for them a hellfire is waiting, and they will live in there forever. So Allah Subhanahu wa Taala is warning, and Allah Subhanahu wa Taala repeatedly warn Muslims of the hellfire. And some of the non-Muslims, they say that if Allah is all merciful, why is He scaring the people of hellfire and the severe punishment? This is the infinite love of Allah Subhanahu wa Taala. Allah Subhanahu wa Taala is Raufur Rahim, and He's warning. Just like a person would not care if the children or the people whom he loves, he doesn't care if they go astray, if they go fall in a ditch, or they go in a fire pit. But a loving person and a caring person would always warn. He would put warning signs. He will send the warners that be careful, don't go to that route, otherwise you will fall in the fire pit. So warning and warning and warning after that. This is the infinite love of Allah Subhanahu wa Taala. Don't go there. Allah Subhanahu wa Taala has sent many prophets as a warner, that just like if there's a danger sign somewhere in the road, people anybody who cares about it will put some warning signs that do not go on that route. This will go to a hazard. You will go to a risk, or you can fall in the ditch, and you will go in the danger zone. So similarly, Allah Subhanahu wa Taala is warning again and again, because there's no escape from hellfire. Hazrat Imam Ghazali, he mentioned it, and he tries to give the concept of hereafter. He says that if you go to a field in which is filled with pebbles, and a bird comes after every 500 years, pick up one pebble and goes away. So it will take a very, very, very long time before all the pebbles in the ground will be taken away. But it doesn't matter how many millions or billions of years it takes, but one day all the pebbles will be gone. But opposite to that is hereafter, because even he tried to give an example, a very long time in which after every 500 years a bird is coming and pick up a pebble. But opposite to that is hereafter, because there's no time. Time will meet its death, and people of the Jannat will live there forever, and people of Jahannam will live there forever. So the concept of time will end in the hereafter. Because one of the scholars, Allah knows the best, but try to say that all the clocks we see, all the rising of sun, all the these are our natural and our artificial clocks through which we measure time. But in hereafter, since Allah will be controlled, so He will kill all those clocks, and we will have an eternal life of bliss, inshallah, for all the Muslims, and for the wrongdoers, a life of eternal punishment. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in the next ayat is also mentioned, Inna allazina amanu wallazina hajaru wa jahidu fi sabilillah. So those people who had accepted Islam and who had migrated to Medina from, and those people who fought in the way of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is saying that they are returning back to the rahmat of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Allah is all forgiving and all merciful. And the word Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is using is Ghafoor and Rahim. So we have mentioned this word, the beautiful name of Rahim. Rahim is exclusively for Muslims. Just like when we recite Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. So my Murshid Qibla, Musa Pasha, used to explain it that Rahman is the general mercy of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala toward all the humankind. That Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is merciful to Muslims, non-Muslims, everybody. And through that, and the reflection of this Rahmaniyat is in this world. In this world, you see that people are prospering, non-Muslim people are prospering, non-Muslim societies are progressing materialistically, because Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has given a general mercy to all the humankind. Allah has given them intellect. Allah ta'ala has given them the limbs. So anybody who works hard in this world can progress and outperform any other even Muslims if they work hard, because this is the rahma or the rahmaniyat of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Rahimiyat, on the other hand, deals exclusively with hereafter. That's the difference between Rahman and Rahim, and that is dependent on good work, on the good deeds. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is mentioning those people who have migrated from Makkah and Medina, so, and they had done the jihad, and those people who had lost their life in the jihad. So Allah subhanahu, they are basically returning to the rahmat of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And for those people who die in the jihad, the reward is so great that when they will meet Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, that they will have all kind of bounties from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, all kind of ni'mats. And when Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will ask them that, is there any wish or any desire that you want that has not been fulfilled, name it and I will fulfill that. So Allah, so the person who had died in the name of Allah and for the glory of Allah's name, he will say, I have one wish. I want to go back in the world, and the honor he received from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for dying in the cause of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, he wished that can be repeated. So his wish would be, I can go back to the world and die again for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So much is the reward for the jihad. And in those people who migrated, Hajaru. So not only that, it was not easy, because Hazrat Abu Bakr Siddiqi, he was a very wealthy merchant, and he had to leave everything behind. So when he first came to Medina, so he would be sick all the time. There will be fever, and he will be on the sick bed all the time. He will be cursing those Quraysh people who had forced them to do that. So on the other hand, Medina at that time, because of the pre-Islamic time of Medina, there was a lot of civil war, infighting, and Medina was also was a tendency of a lot of pandemics. From time to time, different kind of diseases will emerge in Medina, and a huge population will suffer from it and die from it. So, but Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, he held Ansar, the people of Ansar, in very high esteem. So he made a dua for Medina. Oh Allah, make the weather of Medina good for the people. So the weather of Medina changed actually. The change was such a good thing that all the illnesses that were associated with Medina, people of Quraysh, they said that these people of Medina, they will never be able to perform Hajj. The sicknesses will kill them, because from time to time all kind of things will emerge, like diseases and pandemics. But when Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam made the dua, and also there was poverty in Medina because of infighting and all that. But Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam made a dua that Allah give them barakat in their measuring devices, like whatever the thing that they will measure their wheat, they will measure their barley or whatever their grains were. So the prosperity came to Medina. So that was the love of Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam for Medina, that he made a dua and Allah accepted his dua. And now it was impoverished Medina, but later on it became the seat of the most powerful empire, and the prosperity came to so much. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is mentioning the virtues of the people who migrated. Actually, Medina was basically an agrarian society, and people of Mecca was basically a mercantile society. So people of Mecca, those Mahajir from Quraysh who had converted to Islam, they moved to Medina. They are the one who started trading with Syria and other. So that's what brought prosperity into Medina. But originally, when Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam migrated to Medina, Medina was very impoverished and it had a lot of problems. But this was the barakat of Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam. He united the warring tribes of Aus and Hazrat and gave them a new title of Ansar. He was the one who gave the dua for Medina. So the weather of Medina and climate of Medina changed forever, and the economy of Medina changed forever. Now, yes, alunaka anil qamri wal maisar. What is qamar and maisar? So I would like to go a little bit into the words. Qamar basically means to cloak something or cover something. So qamar actually means to, it is the one, but here in Arabic, it is used for alcohol, anything that can intoxicate a person. So qamar means to cover something. So it is alcohol that covers the intellect of person, wisdom of a thing. So it is called qamar. So when somebody would be intoxicated, they said it's qamar, like means now his intellect, his decision making, his wisdom is all covered. So now, as I said, that yes, alunaka, when people ask Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, what was? So in the time of Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, alcohol was a very common ill. Like, people will drink. Those noble Sahabas, like Hazrat Abu Bakr Siddiqi, Hazrat Umar Farooq, and they had never consumed alcohol in their life. They could see that all kind of people getting intoxicated, doing all kind of stupid things. Especially Hazrat Umar Farooq, he used to make dua. Oh Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, for make some revelation about. So it was the dua basically that even after accepting Islam, those Sahabas who were not the close Sahabas, he could see that there's something wrong with this society, this alcoholic society. And if you look at the West, even in the America, in Europe and all that, people are tired of this alcohol consumption and all the things that are associated with alcohol, just like drunk driving, domestic abuse, all the people. So it is called it is such a, Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, when he came, he, through his infinite wisdom, he actually gradually eliminated alcohol from that society. And this is the first ayat. This is the first ayat in which Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is mentioning that people ask you about how is it like. And the second word here is maisar. Again, I would like to go a little bit deeper into the maisar. Maisar means gambling. So this is from the word yusr. Like, you must have heard the name yusra. Yusra means easy or the easy going. Or usr is the opposite word of that. That means hardship. So in Surah Alam Nashrah, you must have seen Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. Alam nashrah laka sadrak wa wadana anka wizrak allazi anqaza zahrak wa rafa'na laka zikrak fa inna ma'al usri yusra. Inna ma'al usri yusra. So with hardship is the ease. So usr, Yusur means ease. So a gambler makes easy money without any hard work, and so that's why gambling is called maisar. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, since it is the first time that they were asking, how is it like to gamble? How is it like to consume alcohol? And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is mentioning that there are more, like there's some benefit in it, but there are more harm in that. Because Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is gradually, eliminating that. This is the second ayat regarding the alcohol is La tuqarribu salata wa antum sukara. Do not go near the namaz when you are intoxicated. And that there is a third ayat, which I do not recall, but in which Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is totally banned. So now this is the first step that, these are the sins, but, or these are the bad things, but there's also some benefit into it. So there could be some medical benefit, and the benefit of that is not of consuming, but there are other uses of the, because some ulamas have mentioned greater things, that some alcohol that used in medicine or homeopathic medicine, or is some kind of alcohol which is called rubbing alcohol. So they say that this is the benefit, because sometimes they have to clean a wound with alcohol, rubbing alcohol. That is a permissible use of that, or some medical use. Because basically, if what is alcohol? Alcohol is anything that can, if you translate Qamar, anything that will take away your wisdom, that will take away your intellect, they will take away that. So it could not only be alcohol, it could be, any use of drugs, any kind of ailments. It could be hash, cocaine, anything that will take away or cloak your capacity to think reasonably or to behave reasonably. So it could mean all kind of, addictions and thing like that. But if it is not the case, if there's some medical use, somebody have alcohol in the cough syrup or something, because it would not intoxicate person, although it is so there's some benefit in it, but you have to be careful with that. I'm not a scholar or alim, so I cannot go that. But this ayat, you have to consider two things. First is that this is the first of the three ayats that came in regard of alcoholism, and there was a gradual, like in Islam, there's a concept of tadrij. Tadrij means step by step. So in the tadrij, alcohol was, banned, and so goes with the gambling. And now they think that all. What about the people who are orphaned? And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is also giving, because of increased tribal warfare in Arabia, both in Medina and Mecca, there were people, a great number of people who, women who became the widows, and the great number of children who became the orphan. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is telling them that, go, it is very hard for, those families whose loved one have died in the warfare or in other natural causes. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is saying that, go, take care of them, correct them, and, take care of them. This is a compassionate society, that they have to take care of those people, of those families. And the case was with the Medina too. In Medina, there were two tribes, Aus and Khazraj, and they were consular, and there were three Jewish tribes, Banu Khaniqa, Banu Qarida, and Banu Nazir. So they would actually instigate fight between Aus and Khazraj, those Jewish tribes, and by first aligning with one tribe and another tribe. So just before Nabi Karim Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam migrated to Medina, there was a war between Aus and Khazraj that killed almost half of the population of Medina. And as a remnant, the cost of such a great that, there was a lot of widows, there were a lot of orphan people. So there are a lot of ayats. They are regarding the, taking care of those underprivileged people, like, widows and orphan people. And now the last of the ayat is Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala saying, Wala وَلَا تَنْكِحُوا الْمُشْرِكَاتِ حَتَّى يُؤْمِنْ. Do not marry those mushrikat, those polytheists, until they are mu'min. And even if a slave, a Muslim slave girl is better than a mushrik. Although some of the mushrik girls might have very physical beauty, they might have wealth or from a lineage, but when you marry them, they will invite you to the hellfire, because usually the family or the woman you marry, you accept the influences for yourself and for also your children. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is like they will invite you to the hellfire, because your iman is the most precious thing for you. And same goes with those people. For the worst of that is those Muslim girls. Do not marry them. Even a slave Muslim is better than those from a very rich or a very influential mushrik family. This I forgot the time of that. If I'm not mistaken, but don't quote me on that. It could be the 3rd year of Hijrah, because in the early Islam, it was permissible when Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam declared his prophethood. So all the family of Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, all the daughters of Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, the first Muslimah was Bibi Khadija. All his daughter accepted, but the oldest daughter of Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, Bibi Zainab, she right away accepted Islam, but her husband did not accept Islam. But at that time there was no commandment toward Muslims and non-Muslim marriage. So what happened? He got captured in the Battle of Badr, and at that time, Bibi Zainab had accepted Islam right in the beginning, and the son-in-law of Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, he came to fight his own father-in-law in Battle of Badr, but he got captured. So Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam said, okay, I will let you go, but you must send Zainab to Medina. So at that time, Bibi Zainab was Muslim, his son-in-law was non-Muslim. So he went back and sent Bibi Zainab to Medina. And then later on, he was again captured by Muslim. And this time, he took a refuge in Bibi Zainab's house. And this is the first indication. Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam said, you can live in Zainab's house, but only as a guest. There could not be a husband-wife relationship. And he was so moved that his son-in-law accepted Islam. Same goes with the uncle of Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, Hazrat Abbas. He did not accept Islam till the Battle of Badr. But his chachi, or his aunt, whose name was al-Fazl, she was the early convert. So it was acceptable in those time, I think till the 3rd year of Hijri, but it could be 5 years. I'm not sure. If somebody has any questions, I can research it. It could be the 3rd year of Hijrah. So Bibi al-Fazl, the chachi or the aunt of Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, was early converts, and her husband Hazrat Abbas did not accept Islam till the Battle of Badr. In the Battle of Badr, what happened? As Hazrat Abbas, the uncle of Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, was going into the battlefield, he thought that I'm going to battlefield in the Badr and I might get killed. So he told his wife al-Fazl, who was an early Muslim convert, he told al-Fazl that if something happened to me, I have so much wealth, so give that much money to this son, that much money to that much money to that. And when he was captured in Battle of Badr, he Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, he had 20 uqya, I do not know what is the measurement, gold, because he was one of the chiefs of Quraysh. They were taking turns to feed the Quraysh army, and his turn had not come. So when the 20 uqya gold that he had it, Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam took it and put it in the Baitul Mal, and they see that pay the compensation for yourself and your nephew, because in the Battle of Badr, Hazrat Ali was fighting under the banner of Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, but his own brother Aqil was fighting for Quraysh. So he got captured, and Hazrat Abbas was told to pay the ransom for him and his nephews. So Hazrat Abbas said that, I do not have any money. So Nabi said that, what happened to all the money which you said to Fazl that, if something happened to me, give that much money to him, that much money to him. So at that time in the Battle of Badr, Hazrat Abbas said that, I declared that you are the Prophet of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. The conversation between me and Fazl, nobody knew between me what happened with me and Fazl. So basically, it was Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala who told you what happened. So he accepted Islam, but he kept his Islam. So his wife, who was an early convert when Nabi Muhammad declared. So this is the mentioning about the, this is actually out loud, all the relationship. Even for a long time, Umar Farooq had a wife who did not accept Islam. Her name was Malika. And Hazrat Umar Farooq loved her, and she, like their marriage of Malika and Hazrat Umar Farooq, it was considered like, at that time, just like a Romeo and Juliet love and like, Laila Majnun love. But when the command came that do not keep, mushrikat in your nikah, so she was not expecting it. So Hazrat Umar Farooq offered her to accept Islam, but she refused. So Umar Farooq divorced her. And same goes with Hazrat Abu Bakr. Like all the mushrikat women, they were divorced. And Sahaba Ikram, although they did not consider that, these are their beloved wife, the mother of their children. But when the command came, that's how they obeyed. And the third commandment when it comes to alcohol, that the second command is that do not approach namaz when you are intoxicated. So people were, in this command. But the third one, in which alcohol was outright, banned. So at that time, the command came, and Nabi Karam commandment came that through Quran, people absorb it so completely. Those people who were consuming alcohol, they had consumed the half of the glass. So when they heard about this Quranic ayat, they throw away the glass. And at that time, there were so many vessels of the alcohol that was broken in Medina, that all the streets were filled with the alcohol. That's how, the people, the alcoholic society, when Nabi Muhammad gave the command, to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gave command to Nabi Muhammad, and that's how the people of Medina and all the followers Nabi Muhammad obeyed. So inshallah, we will stop at here, and if there's any questions, inshallah, I will welcome that. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, guide us to properly understanding and, practicing Quran, inshallah.